It was a bright Monday morning in Lagos, Nigeria. The air buzzed with excitement as students of Crestview International School marched into the gates, with their designer shoes clicking on the polished floors, laughter echoing through the hallways. For most, it was just another day, but for Adunola, it was the start of something new. Her first day at the most prestigious school in town. Adunola, as her parents fondly called her, had always been exceptional. Despite growing up in a small, modest village on the outskirts of the city, she was blessed with a brilliant mind. Her parents, though poor, had sacrificed everything to send her to a decent school. When the opportunity came to apply for a scholarship to Crestview, they encouraged her to take the chance. Adunola's academic excellence won her the scholarship, but nothing could have prepared her for what was ahead. Stepping out of the rickety bus she had boarded to school, her stomach churned. Her uniform was slightly faded, though her mother had pressed it with great care. It was second-hand, and it couldn't compare to the crisp, expensive outfits her classmates wore. She took a deep breath and walked through the gates, determined to make herself and her parents proud. Inside Crestview was nothing short of breathtaking. The school had modern classrooms, state-of-the-art technology, and beautiful compound where students mingled in small and elite circles. Adunola noticed how the girls wore flashy watches and carried the latest gadgets, while the boys joked loudly about their weekend parties in Banana Island or their latest trip to Dubai. None of that was her world. She clutched her old backpack tightly, trying to shrink into herself as people began to stare at her. It didn't take long for the whispers to follow. "Who is that? Is she new? She doesn't look like one of us." Adunola's favorite place was the library. She found solace in the quiet corner. This was where she could lose herself in books and escape the judgment of her peers. But even the sanctuary of the library could not shield her from the loneliness that loomed over her. If Adunola felt out of place, then Folarin additional was the happening guy of Crestview. Tall, handsome, and charming, Folarin had everything any girl could dream of. He came from one of the wealthiest families in Nigeria, and everything about him screamed perfection. From his perfectly styled hair to his polished speech, Folarin was the king of Crestview. He was also intelligent, top of his class, captain of the basketball team, and president of the student council. To the girls, he was a prince, and to the boys, he was someone to admire and emulate. All the girls in Crestview seemed to be under a spell. There was Leila, the daughter of a prominent politician, who made it her life's mission to get his attention. Then there was Zara, whose father owned a chain of luxury hotels across Africa. Her beauty rivaled any celebrity, and she had made it very clear that Folarin was her target. Yet, with all the admiration and attention, Folarin was not bothered. He had a circle of friends who were just as rich and privileged as he was. To them, Adunola didn't exist. Neither did anyone who wasn't part of their exclusive world. This was until the fateful day their path crossed. It was just an ordinary Tuesday when the news came. The school was organizing a major group project for the senior students, and it would count for half of their grade. The groups were randomly assigned to encourage diversity and collaboration. Folarin didn't care who his group mates were. He could ace any project on his own. He had been paired with some random kids, but to his surprise, there was one name that stood out: Adunola Obisoya. When Folarin first laid eyes on Adunola during the initial group meeting, he hardly acknowledged her presence. She was just another girl, quiet and seemingly out of place. The group had decided to meet at one of the popular cafes near the school to brainstorm ideas. While Folarin spent most of his time on his phone, catching up on social media, Adunola quietly presented her thoughts on the project. Her voice was steady and her ideas were brilliant, but the others barely paid attention. They dismissed her suggestions as boring and simplistic. Folarin barely looked up from his phone, and when he did, it was with mild amusement. "Let's just focus on something flashy," Zara had suggested with a flip of her long braids. "We need to make an impression." Adunola had remained silent for the rest of the meeting, feeling invisible once again. The next few days passed in a blur, and the group's progress was slow. Adunola had sent multiple drafts and ideas through the group chat, but nobody seemed interested. Folarin hadn't even replied once. It wasn't until the night before the project presentation that Folarin realized just how much work was left undone. As the group leader, it was his responsibility to put everything together, but he hadn't bothered to open the document Adunola had sent. Frustrated, he finally opened her emails. What he saw stunned him. Adunola's work was meticulous, filled with well-researched data, creative solution, and a solid strategy for the project. She had not only done her part, but had practically carried the entire group. Folarin was impressed. He spent the rest of the night revising the presentation based on her work, and by the time morning came, he knew they had something special. At the presentation, the teachers were thoroughly impressed. The group received the highest marks, and everyone was quick to celebrate except Adunola. She stood off to the side, quietly packing her things. As the group dispersed, Folarin found himself walking towards her. "Adunola, right?" he asked, stopping her in the hallway. She looked up, slightly startled. "Yes." "I just wanted to say, you did a great job on the project. We couldn't have done it without you." Adunola blinked, taken aback by his sudden compliment. "Thank you." There was an awkward pause, and then Folarin did something unexpected. "I was wondering if you would like to sit with us at lunch today." Adunola hesitated. She had always eaten alone, and the thought of sitting with Folarin's popular friends made her anxious. I'm not sure," she stammered. "Think about it," Folarin said with a smile, then walked away. The next day at lunch, Adunola cautiously approached the table where Folarin and his friends were sitting. Leila and Zara were there, along with some other students from the wealthy elite. As soon as Adunola sat down, the conversation around the table quieted, and all eyes turned to her. Zara raised an eyebrow. "So you are the scholarship girl?" Leila snickered. "Yeah, I heard you are smart. That's how you got in, right?" Adunola felt the heat rise to her cheeks. She had always been proud of her scholarship, but here it felt like an insult. Folarin, noticing the discomfort, shot a warning glance at the girls. "Adunola is really talented. You should have seen her work on the project. It was way better than what we could have done." The girls exchanged looks but didn't push further. For the rest of the lunch period, Folarin tried to include Adunola in the conversation, but she could feel the tension in the air. She wasn't one of them, and she knew it. Over the next few weeks, Folarin and Adunola began working on more projects together, and an unexpected friendship started to form. Folarin was drawn to Adunola's quiet strength and intelligence, while Adunola began to see another side of Folarin. one that was more thoughtful and genuine than she had initially assumed. However, their growing bond didn't go unnoticed. Layla and Zara and the other girls were furious. They had always vied for Folarin's attention, and now the village girl was stealing him away from them. The jealousy festered, and soon rumors began to spread. One day, as Adunola walked down the hallway, she overheard two girls whispering, "Did you hear? Apparently, Adunola has been trying to seduce Folarin for his money. I heard she's been blackmailing him. I mean, why else would he be hanging out with her?" Adunola's heart sank. She had done nothing wrong, but the rumors were spreading like wildfire. She began to withdraw, avoiding Folarin and retreating further into her shell. Folarin noticed the change in Adunola's behavior and confronted her one afternoon after class. "Why are you avoiding me?" he asked, standing in front of her locker. "I'm not," she mumbled, not meeting his eyes. "You are," he insisted, "and I want to know why." Adunola sighed, feeling the weight of the rumors pressing down on her. "People are talking about us, Folarin. They think I'm using you for your money." Folarin frowned. "Who cares what they think? You know that's not true, and I know that's not true." But I don't belong in your world," she whispered. "I'm just a scholarship girl from a poor family. I don't have fancy clothes or rich parents. I'll never fit in with your friends." Folarin was silent for a moment. Then he reached out, gently lifting her chin, forcing her to look at him. "Adunola, I don't care about any of that. You are the smartest, kindest person I know, and I would rather be with someone like you than all the Laylas and Zaras in the world." Adunola's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. "I don't know, Folarin. I'm not sure it's worth it." Folarin smiled. "Then let's make it worth it together." The next day, Folarin made a bold move. Instead of sitting with his usual group of friends, he walked over to the table where Adunola usually ate alone. Without saying a word, he sat down beside her and started eating his lunch. The cafeteria went silent as everyone watched, shocked by the unexpected sight. Layla and Zara were furious. They stormed over to the table, demanding to know why Folarin was sitting with the scholarship girl. But Folarin didn't flinch. He stood up, faced the crowd of students who gathered to watch. "You all think you know me," he said loudly. "You think I care about money and status. But the truth is, I don't. Adunola is the smartest, most hardworking person in this school. And if you can't see that, then that's your loss." With that, he sat back down, and the cafeteria erupted in whispers. But Folarin didn't care. Neither did Adunola. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she belonged. Over the next few months, Adunola and Folarin's friendship grew stronger. They became inseparable, working on projects together, laughing over shared jokes, and challenging each other academically. Adunola found herself more confident, no longer shrinking into the shadows. She had proven that she was more than just a poor girl with a scholarship. She was someone worth knowing. Folarin too had changed. He realized that wealth wasn't about money or status, but about the richness of character. He admired Adunola for her resilience, her intelligence, and her kindness. As graduation approached, the rumors and whispers faded away. Adunola was no longer just a scholarship girl. She was a force to be reckoned with, and Folarin was proud to stand by her side. In the end, Adunola and Folarin taught each other a valuable lesson: that true wealth isn't measured by what you have, but by who you are. And in that sense, they were both the richest people in the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.